Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to join me on this brief segment of conversations with MJ. As you see, our topic, let's talk a conversation with MJ. I am Minister J. I am the founder and lead servant of B2B Ministries, which stands for Born to Battle Ministries. Just a reminder that when God created each one of us, He placed everything that we would need on the inside of us in order to win, to defeat, to overcome, and be victorious in every battle that we face. Thus, when God created us, He created each one of us already born to battle. Again, this is a conversation with MJ. I will not be before you long. In these segments, it is my desire to speak to you from my heart, speak to you regarding real life situations, and hoping that you walk away knowing that although we are Christians, although we are born again, although we trust in God, although we have faith to move mountains, at the end of the day, even with all of those attributes, we are human and we have human interactions, we have human complex things that happen in our lives, we have human grief, human mourning, human complications. There are just so many things that comes with humanity, and sometimes we can't just dress it up, dial it up, and cover it up with being a Christian alone, because we are all of those things inside of our one human body. So, again, this is a brief conversation with MJ. And I just want to talk to you this time about rejection from my personal standpoint. We as humans are all uncomfortable when we experience rejection, whether it's from a job interview and they say we went with another person, whether it's from a relationship you're trying to get with someone and they say, no, I'm sorry, we don't feel, I don't feel that we're compatible. Whether it's a test that you take and you fail the test, you feel like you've been rejected from the high honor club, or even if you're in school as a teenager, you're trying to fit in, you don't fit in with the cool kids, so you're being rejected. You don't fit in with the nerds because maybe you don't make the best grades, so you feel rejected. You don't fit in with the jocks because you didn't play football, basketball, or any sport, so you feel rejected. But what I would really want to hone in on tonight or today or whenever you view this is rejection from the ones that you feel should be the very ones who don't reject you. A lot of times we go through life and we experience situations, we make choices that are best for us as individuals. Because believe it or not, although we may have all been raised by our parents or grandparents or aunts or whomever your parental figure may have been, and what they saw for you in their head may not be the choice that you made when you became an adult. However, because what they saw in their head didn't match up with who you are on the inside, I personally feel like there should not be a rejection in any form. Now, of course, you can have a conversation. You can debate it. They can give advice. You can go back and forth giving your opinions of why you did this, and they can tell you why they thought you shouldn't have done that, especially once you reach a place of adulthood. But when your family or your close friends or whomever is the closest to you feel that it's okay to say out of their mouths that they love you, but they show you rejection, their rejection of you as a person, to me personally, shows me that the words that you said that you love me are not the same. They don't measure up. I often hear, love is an action word. And if that is true, then if you say, look, I love you out of your mouth, that's not an action. That's just you making verbiage. But the action comes when you show me that you love me. Now, I know sometimes people say, well, I show love because I show up. I show love because, if there's something going on, I will be there. That may be a form of love. But when you are rejecting a person to the point of where you are embarrassed to say that you are connected to them, That is a shaming, and shaming and love don't fall in the same category. It seems that we sometimes as humans are a glutton for punishment, because even when we get rejected by those who should love us, we still go back and give them another chance. And what I really want to bring out in this conversation with MJ regarding rejection from people that we hoped would love us and people that we expected to love us is that it's okay to love from a distance. You do not have to continue to go back to this same person that you are wanting acceptance from, and you are wanting to show you the same amount of love that maybe they're showing someone else. I used to think, well, maybe it's not in their capacity to give me that type of love, until I realized that anyone can change who they are if they want to. Of course, in the days of old, people were raised with different ways of looking at things, and they had their value system set up differently, and they saw things from a different angle, because a lot of things at that time was not as open, and a lot of things at that time was not talked about. A lot of things that go on in the house stay in the house, and so that led to a lot of internal turmoil amongst generations that were raised during that time. But I have come to understand that once you reach the age of 18, it is your decision to what you hold on to. It is your decision as to if you choose to change your own concept of how you looked at a thing. So if you find yourself in a situation to where you're wanting love from someone that you just really wish would love you the way that you love, or the way that you see them love someone else, and you keep going back and they keep rejecting you, and you keep going back and they keep rejecting you, it's okay to love from a distance. I have to say, at this point, I am proud of the fact that I can see that God has strengthened me in a way that I did not realize that I was strengthened. What do I mean? What I mean is, there have been times that I've been rejected and I go back because I feel guilty. Because I'm like, okay, no, I even though they rejected me before, because I want to show the love of God, I'm going to continue to seek out that love. I'm going to keep giving that love so hard so that they'll see that, I'm still the same person on the inside, and I want them to love me the way that they love someone else. And I just go back and I go back, and I just keep bumping my head against the brick wall, like the bricks you see here in the screen, which is really why I use this background, because I constantly bump my head against the brick wall in the past, seeking for love that was only spoken of and shown in certain situations. But to me, when the Bible says love covers a multitude of faults, a multitude of sins, then if you love me and I've done nothing to hurt you other than be who I am, then your love should show. So I'm proud of God. I'm proud that I realized that God has strengthened me in a way that I didn't realize I was strengthened, because this time I have experienced rejection. And of course, it was uncomfortable, but it didn't hurt the same this time. And this time, it does not hurt to love from a distance. We have to realize that when we are seeking love in places that we're not getting it, it's okay for us to love ourselves enough to say, I'm done beating my head against the brick wall. And I can say that I'm done beating my head against the brick wall. And I believe that I will be okay internally and spiritually, because I've tried and I've tried. And I want to encourage you that if you've given it your best shot and you're still getting the same result, love you enough to say that although I wish that I could be loved in the same way that they love other people, but they choose not to. But guess what? I'm going to love me. And if you find yourself in a place of feeling guilty for not going back and trying again, ask God to give you the strength and to give you what you need in order to hold fast so that your heart won't be broken again. It's not fair for you to keep going back and getting your heart broken, especially when that other person sees absolutely nothing wrong with what they have done, what they have said, how they have acted to you and treated you. So it's okay to be uncomfortable, but don't allow it to hurt you to the point that you go back and allow yourself to be abused by rejection once again. So before I end this brief conversation, I have one more thing that I kind of wanted to hit on regarding rejection. I'm not God. I can't put anybody in heaven or hell. Although there are some people who walk around and believe that they know who's going to heaven and who's going to hell. They can't know that because they're not God either. They can't know that even based on the Bible, because the Bible has a very gray area from Genesis to Revelation. There are so many contradictory statements in the Bible that there's no way to know for sure who is and who isn't going to heaven, because God still has the final say, regardless of how much men try to condemn a certain community, try to condemn a certain people, try to condemn a certain act. There's no way for anyone to know. So, as I was stating, I'm not God, so I don't know who is going to heaven and to hell. But I often sit back and wonder if those same people who say they love the Lord, say that they're Christians, say that they're representing Christ, yet they condemn other people to hell. Also, they give rejection, hurting God's children based on something that they choose not to change, and judging the life of the person that they're choosing to reject. So I often wonder, do they know for sure that they're going to heaven? Because Jesus didn't reject anyone. Jesus wasn't embarrassed to be with the woman who they wanted to stone because they said she was a woman of ill repute. God did not reject Rahab, the prostitute. As a matter of fact, he gave Joshua instructions to save her and her household. God did not kill David, a man after his own heart, even after he cheated and he had adultery with another woman and then had her husband killed. God did not reject these people. Neither was he ashamed of them, because if he were, do you think that their stories would stand out to have been chosen to put in the book that we use to represent our relationship with God? Mm-mm. When Jesus walked this earth, he was not ashamed of his connection with the taxpayers. Nah, they talked about him because they said, how can he dine with the taxpayers? How can he be in their house? Jesus was not ashamed to be introduced by anyone. He talked to the Pharisees. He talked to the Sadducees. He talked to, in these conversations, he never was embarrassed to allow someone else to know that he had had a conversation with them. When he picked his 12 disciples, he knew they were not perfect, but he still had an open, honest, and a relatable connection that he shared about them to other people. So I just wonder if these same people who say that they want their mind to be like Christ, and they say that they're Christians and they're followers of Christ, these very same people who shame people that are in your families, or shame people that think differently that they do, or are embarrassed to say that they're connected to someone in some type of way, or they're embarrassed to introduce a certain person to someone in their small circle because they don't agree with who this person is. If they really truly know if they're going to make it into heaven, because those actions do not follow the example that Christ had with us here on the earth? Do you think he would have been able to have a conversation with the woman at the well and tell everybody and let her go tell everybody if he was embarrassed about having a conversation or a connection with a woman who had slept with all these men, had all these husbands, and then was with a man who was not her husband? Think about that. The next time you come across somebody who gives you rejection or wants to reject you for who you are, or is embarrassed to say you're their relative or their friend or their co-worker or their church member or whatever, just think about, I wonder, do they really think that they're not going to be judged at the end of the day when they have to stand before God for rejecting one of his children because they disagreed with who they are? Something to think about as people are condemning, as people are shaming, and as people have such a quick word to say that this person is condemned to hell, that person is going to hell, doing this you're going to hell. When once again the Bible is such a great area that no one truly knows who will lift up their eyes from hell and who will reign with God. So that is my conversation with MJ on today. I know it was a little heavy. I know it was a little deep, but I just want someone to be encouraged to know it's okay to love from a distance. It's okay to disconnect from rejection. You don't have to keep beating your head against a brick wall for something that has shown you, not told you, but shown you will never be any different. So again, I am the founder and lead servant of B2B Ministries, which stands for Born to Battle Ministries. And I thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to join me for this brief conversation with MJ. Until next time, be blessed. Know that God loves you, Minister J loves you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Have a great weekend.